everyone. Welcome to this webinar. I see we have a bunch of people already. Great. So just a couple of housekeeping notes. I want to let everybody know that you guys are muted to avoid background noises. So please, if you want to participate, feel free to do so throughout the chat in the question box. You can enter all your questions over there, any comments. And Sean over here will be reading them and we will address them at the end of the presentation, okay? And that being said, this meeting is being recorded in case any one of your team is missing it, so they can join it and review it later on. Okay, so let's get started with this amazing webinar. Again, welcome and thank you for joining, thank you for attending. My name is Barbara Espinosa. I'm the product manager here at Venza, and our topic today is culture of awareness. We have Macarena Carballo here, our customer success director, straight from our Roswell office, and our panel of industry experts who will introduce themselves in just a minute. During the webinar, we will cover indications and business benefits of a culture of awareness, answering the question, why is InfoSec training so important? So, without further ado, let's meet our industry experts. Karen, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, your name, title, hotel management company, and how long have you been in the industry?
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Karen Ranker. I'm the Vice President of Human Resources for Noble House Hotels and Resorts, and I've had the privilege of being with Noble House for 37 years. Actually planning my move into the next stage of life at this time. So I'm quite honored that Mac asked me to join you today.
After 37 years, I'm sure you've seen a lot around culture of awareness and not awareness, right?
These are words that we didn't even know when I started, yes.
You started when you were 5. I think we need to start looking at
internship, yes.
Yeah, we need to start looking at the child labor laws before you leave.
Well, thank you for joining us, Karen. Michael, what about you? Tell us about yourself.
Yep, my name is Michael Fenech, and I'm with Atrium Hospitality. I'm the Director of IT at Atrium Hospitality for corporate offices, and I've been in security about 10 years total.
10 years. Again, you've probably seen a lot already. I'm looking forward to getting your insight on how the culture of awareness applies to reduce the risks in your area for sure. Thank you as well for joining us, Michael. Our industry experts are here to keep us on check and ensure that everything that we're presenting, everything we say resonates with their field areas and with the industry for sure. So thank you both for taking the time today as industry experts to provide your real world expertise on this matter and how it is actually like implementing an awareness and training strategy on a day-by-day basis in the hospitality industry. So without further ado, Mac, I give you the floor. Please tell us as well a bit about yourself, and then you can go ahead and get started on your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara, and hello everyone out there. My name is Macarena Carballo. As Barbara mentioned, I am the Director of Customer Success here at Venza, based out of our Roswell office here in Georgia. And I want to take a moment really to especially thank Karen and Michael for participating. We'll be spending some time together and hopefully we'll go ahead and all learn something new today. Okay, so thank you again, Karen and Michael. I really appreciate it. As you can tell, for everyone being part of the webinar, we have the industry experts here with us today, and they'll share some information and inspire some good conversation to give all of us feedback on what's happening at the property level and on the corporate level as well. Now, for all of you to know, I joined Venza a year ago with 17 years of experience within the hospitality industry. And today we'll be lucky enough to get opinions from both sides. We have Karen on the HR side and then Michael with the IT perspective. And really with this webinar, it is expected to be no longer than 30 minutes. And the intent is for us to be concise, relevant, and just offer overall value for everyone. And attempt to have a true peer-to-peer conversation, right, or vendor-to-client conversation in this case. So thank you again for taking the time. I know everyone as part of this webinar has very complicated operations, but Michael and Karen, thank you for being a good sport and volunteering to be part of the webinar. Now, what you see on the screen are a few of the topics that we're actually going to be covering. Karen and Michael, can you confirm that you see the one-pager?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So again, with this format, we want to keep it concise and straight to the point. So I think I'm hearing a little bit of. Can anybody else hear them?
Yeah. Just started.
Okay. I think it's gone now. Okay, so Karen and Michael, as Barbara mentioned, please feel free to interrupt me at any time. I really want this conversation to be interactive, and I definitely will appreciate any feedback that you will have as we move forward. Now, what we are going to be discussing today, right, as you look at the slide, it's really a simple fact. It's training culture of awareness. And sure, holistically speaking, it seems quite simplistic, right? And I can probably ask all of you and even everyone in the call, why do you think it is important? But I also understand you're in this meeting because you do understand that data protection and that strong culture of awareness is important, right? So what I really want to discuss is something a little bit more intricate. Again, data protection is important, but I want to take a look at the signs of what a good culture of awareness look like, okay? So last week, I was having a conversation with one of our co-owners, Daniel Johnson, and we were talking about what we like to call 3 legs of culture, okay? Those are some of the signs to know that you have a good culture of awareness. The first leg is the senior leadership, right? Whether it's corporate team or the general managers on property, right? The second leg that I want to highlight, obviously of utmost importance, it's the team with all of your associates on property, okay? And then the last leg is accountability. Who is accountable? Who is the one pushing the training, right? So as we look at these 3 components, I had a conversation with one of our customer success managers, and I asked him, why do you think our hotels actually need that strong culture of awareness? And Don's response was very simple. He said, well, it's necessary and we are preparing for battle, right? And although it's a great analogy, it's also very valid as well, right? Karen and Michael, I think you can probably agree that the human error that is obviously part of this culture is a result of lack of training and lack of awareness, right? And not just that, but the data security, it's really the discipline that requires continuous training, expertise, and attention to be able to build this culture. And as we talk about the human element or the human firewall, last year alone, just last year, the cybercrime damages exceeded $1 trillion. And as I was doing some research, even some of the statistics to me were surprising. Some of the studies showed 95% of all data breaches can actually be traced to a human error, right? So I can't stress it enough that human firewall, it is definitely the first line of defense and really to avoid the risk of data breach. Now, here I'll probably state the obvious, right? At the end of the day, our priority is to protect our organization, the clients, and our associates, right? Our team, our employees. And customer trust and loyalty now, probably more than ever, it's critical to make sure we avoid those financial consequences, right? And as we all strive for better visibility, which I think is great, because it's something that we stand for here in Venza, it also keeps all of us more exposed. Now, so as we are looking at these three different legs, I wanted to really dive into a few of the signs, right, and indications of the good culture of awareness, right? So I wanted to talk a little bit more about it. And the first one, as we mentioned, is leadership. You have the C-level executives and the general managers. As we look at them, they are the ones that really deploy the resources. They inspire all of us and remove the hurdles so we are able to do what we need to do. Now, this actual support also needs to be visible, right, and truly documented with the proper systems, the procedures, the policies, and the policies. And you know, we've seen considerable improvement when our message at Venza, it's actually echoed by the corporate team. It is incredible the progress and commitment that we actually receive from the hotels when leadership is involved, right? Obviously, general managers and on-property champions are equally as important, but I can't stress it enough. And obviously, we'll hear a little bit more from our experts, but leadership, and really getting that commitment. We see it on a daily basis. When leadership is engaged, the organization is compliant, right? And it is not coincident. The commitment starts at the top. It is evident. And as I like to say, it's like osmosis of information. Starts at corporate and then it goes down to the property level. Now, I would love to hear a little bit from our industry experts. And Karen, I'll start with you. Let me ask you, do you agree? Do you think obtaining leadership buy-in into the culture is critical? What are some of your thoughts, and what have you experienced in the past 37 years when it comes to this?
Well, thanks, Meg. We, of course, sorry, I'm getting feedback. I think this topic is no different than almost everything else that we deal with, right? Whether it's guest satisfaction, associate satisfaction, compliance, we have to have buy-in from the top or we will not be successful. And some of the things we've done at Noble House, I was thinking of tangible things that I can share with the group. My president of operations has a GM huddle every other week, and every other week he is talking in his meeting with the general managers about compliance training and where the percentages are and who's at the top of the list and who's maybe not at the top of the list. So we are sharing information on a regular basis with our team, but it's coming from the highest level at Noble House. So I think that's very important. The other way that we keep it top of mind, and again, assuring that it comes from leadership, is that we have it built into our bonuses. So every bonus plan in Noble House has a compliance factor of our Venza training. So everyone should be looking at it all the time because it's important to them quite tangibly to their pocketbook. But if we didn't have that support from leadership, it wouldn't be in the bonuses, right? You know, the things that are in the bonus plans are things Absolutely. That are vitally important to our company, and we've put this compliance training right up there. So I agree, we get nothing done if the C-suite does not stand behind it.
Interesting point, Karen, because actually that ties into what you were saying, Macarena, about accountability. You're not only linking it to accountability at every level, but also pushing it through positive reinforcement, because this is definitely something, regardless of the bonus or the positive reinforcement that you can think of at the C-suite level, but also it's something positive at a personal level, at an individual level for every single one of the associates to have this culture of awareness, to be trained on this matter and bring it even to their personal life, right? And then, Michael, what do you think regarding preparing for battle, preparing the soldiers for battle? How does that really reflect on your area to reduce the risks?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of to echo what Macarena said earlier and what Karen just said, the weakest link in the battle against being, infiltrated is your users. You got to train the users. And so, getting executive sponsorship is critical. It shows that it's important, however you do it. A bonus is obviously one way to do it. We also use a reminder every couple of weeks. So we send out a weekly refresh, and in the weekly refresh, we just communicate out to the field and the rest of corporate on initiatives and things that we're working on. And from the IT's perspective, every other week is usually a security related issue or question or fact. So whenever we see or hear about a breach of some kind, we make sure to highlight it and put it front and center, right? So it's always top of mind. It's always, hey, remember what happened to this company, or remember what happened to such and such hospitality company. Let's make sure that's not us, that type of thing. So we reinforce that as often as we can, and it's usually every other week we have some sort of security statistical fact or breach that usually brings it top of mind.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and I'm lucky to have worked with both of you personally, and I know that culture of awareness definitely with both of your hotel management companies start at the C level. So thank you again for sharing that. And as we're talking about the leadership, the team, right, is equally as important, right, and another resource or indicator of the overall culture, right? If it matters to the team, it fosters teamwork, and they encourage each other, right? They get involved, they talk, and our job it's to allow them to really understand the benefits, because we find ourselves right now in a very unique situation, right? It is not just for the organization, right? These benefits are not just professional. We're also, we need to be able to communicate the personal benefits that they will get out of this training, and truly embracing the culture, right? It is not just the organization, the clients, but it's also them. And, ultimately be able to look inwards, right? And determine what are the critical systems and processes that we want to make sure we put in place to create this culture, right? Because our team is number one. Now, as we talk about the team, Karen, from an HR perspective, does a training of culture of awareness, do you think it really matters to the team? Do you think they actually understand the personal benefits behind it? What have you implemented in the past to really help them realize the benefits behind what it is that we're trying to communicate?
Well, I think it depends a great extent on what a person's job is, right? I think sometimes we have much harder time with, say, someone who is a pot washer in the kitchen, or our room attendants who feel like they don't deal directly with the guests, they don't deal with credit cards. And so what we try to do there is take it down to examples that are less about a credit card maybe, and more about a practical, if you opened a door for someone,
Sure.
Another life could be in danger, or if a pot washer sees something and doesn't deal with it, somebody just walking down the hall, what the consequences could be. So I think the key is really meeting people where they are and assuring that in the training we're giving examples and solutions as to how this impacts you, your job, your role in the organization. Because as you and I've talked, to me, it's not simply about data protection as in credit cards or the electronic, right? I'm also interested in, does a manager have a roster sitting on their desk that has everybody's birthday and home address and, you know, some very tangible things. So I like to think of the training going in a bigger direction than simply data awareness, right? Because that's only part of what we have. We have points of contact, hundreds, thousands, and we want everybody to see how they fit in to that. That helps.
Yeah, though that's and you know, I know, Karen, that we've had this conversation many times before, right? Because one of the questions that we continue to get is, does everyone need to do the training, right? So yeah, data protection, PII. So yeah, sure. You know, just you just mentioned it. It's just not about credit cards. And an important part of that as well, right? When we are looking at the culture of awareness, so now we have the team and we have the leadership, right? But it's the accountability part, and having crucial accountability. It's definitely an evidence sign that we have a good culture of awareness. Who are we holding accountable, right? Does our team understand the culture and the consequences? We need to be able to explain, right? Why do we care? Why is it important? And you know, in order to be able to do so, we need to have that accountability conversation at a corporate level and at a general manager level as well, right? We want to create safe environments. We want to describe the gaps, right? Making it easy, making it motivating to make sure that it is easy, because I do understand that probably data protection training is not the first thing that everybody thinks about, but it's definitely crucial. And as leadership, and I think you'll probably agree, we strive to remove the hurdles, right? And the yeah buts, right? And we try to diagnose the situation. And, you know, I've heard, well, Macarena, it's easier said than done, right? Our general managers have been wearing 10 hats and now they are wearing 100, right? So it's very difficult, right? When you have general managers that are perhaps at times cleaning rooms, to actually get them to buy into the culture of awareness training, right? Now, in terms of accountability, Michael, tell me a little bit about that. Have you struggled with the accountability portion based on whether it's been, you know, low staffing levels or turnovers, right? A little bit about what we were just talking about. And how did you manage that? Do you do any competitions? Do you think that's motivating, demotivating? Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we do have some competition between our properties. You know, we kind of you know, treat them all as individual properties, so that makes them you know, responsible for what's happening at their properties. But when we start sharing results of some of the training with everybody, they can see where they stand against other properties. And you know, you don't want to be in the red zone of that list, right? You want to make sure you're in the green zone. So you know, it's a little bit of management by humiliation, right? So that will get people in gear to make sure that they keep their staff up and trained and focused on security. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you know, rewarding the good behavior and great performance, right? One of the things that we, absolutely, when it comes to prescriptive guidance, right, with Venza, I want to throw out there a few of the things that, as I look at all of our clients, that they found it helpful when it comes to adoption, to be able to, and also to be able to hold them accountable, right? Orientations, take advantage of that time. Your associates are already spending all day with the HR, so include the training as part of that particular orientation. We also strongly suggest, and we covered it briefly, but select a champion on property and at the corporate level, right? And depending on the size of your hotel, it could be a general manager or a director of HR. And then probably another one that has become very popular for at least the last 2 years, it's you have your town hall meetings on property, celebrate the cybersecurity month in October, right? Every year, included as part of the town hall meeting, and Venza will be able to also provide you all of the resources that you could potentially need. Now, Karen, as we were talking about the competition, right? I'm intrigued to know from an HR perspective, what do you think? Do you think being able to expose every hotel management, every hotel to the entire company to try to reward that positive behavior from an HR perspective, do you think it's motivating, or do you believe it's the opposite?
Well, that's a great question. And as Michael said, the wall of shame, that when we post these things, that certainly is a potential. But I think you have to look at what's the culture of your company, and we're measuring RevPAR index and penetration and ADR and success to forecast. So we're measuring everything. We're measuring our TripAdvisor, we're measuring our guest satisfaction scores, and we're putting that up there. And so this is, to me, this is simply one more thing that we are measuring, and that people with a competitive spirit like to win. So I don't look at it as negative. I think it has the, if somebody's if you have a list, someone's going to be at the bottom of it. But if the bottom of your list has an 88 or 90% compliance, then it's okay. The issue is you don't want to be list and have a 40%. That's no good. But I think it is our world. Our general managers are competitive. Our directors of sales are competitive. We are a competitive industry. And so while this may not, be a great HR answer, I'm okay with people wanting to be at the top of the mountain and doing whatever it takes, because the good that we get out of that with having 98, 99% of our people trained is worth, if somebody's squirming a little bit because they're at the bottom of the list. I'm okay with that.
And that's an excellent point. And as I prepared for the webinar, and I've had this conversation with Michael a few times, I'm like, I'm excited to know what Karen thinks about that from an HR standpoint. So thank you so much. I know we have 2 minutes left. There's one more thing that I want to cover with everyone. And, I know we keep talking about training, right? But our priority number one will continue to be the training, but also to ensure that we are not just checking a box. I feel like I can hear my CEO, my CEO and my CIO saying, we need to make sure that our clients are not just checking a box, right? And starting to come out of COVID, right, fingers crossed, there continues to be a lot of that, just checking the box to be able to communicate compliance to the corporate team and also to the owners. So we need to do it. We need to do it for real, and really just going through and embrace the entire process, right? Do the training, and now more so than ever, embrace those phishing campaigns, right? That ultimately it's the resources that we offer to help you mitigate and remediate everything that you have going on. And when it comes to ransomware, phishing, smishing, vishing, all of these education is actually key. Now, Barbara, I know it's probably only a matter of time before you tell me it's almost time, but I want to, on the right of the screen, I will be sharing additional information as we talk about the culture, what it is that we can do to help you, okay, really achieve and embrace that culture. So the new courses, phishing campaigns, proctor training, just that entire list that you see there, I will be emailing you some information. A lot of you are very familiar with it, but I think it's very important, okay? Michael and Karen, I can't thank you enough for your participation. You're always there for us when we need you, and likewise. So Barbara, back at you.
Thank you, Mac. Perfect timing. We're actually out of time. I don't see many questions. However, everybody in the audience, if you do have questions, please feel free to type them in the chat, type them in the question box. And unfortunately, we run out of time, but we will be able to submit those questions to our industry experts or to Macarena, depending on who you want to ask them to. And we will get back to you later by email. Thank you so much for attending, Karen, Michael. You brought up some great points. You gave us some great insights regarding a security culture of awareness. Why is this so important, and how to implement it in the best way possible with positive reinforcements and bringing in accountability, and of course with all the support for leadership. So thank you so much for all your insights. Thank you, Mac, for a great presentation. And thank you, everybody in the audience, for taking the time today. We'll see you on our next webinar.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all for attending Culture of Awareness. We will be ending the webinar now.